Pleasure and pain. Understanding the human being is to understand that the human being has two powerful forces that controls them. And these forces, every single human being has it. Even the animals have this force. Two forces, pleasure and pain. Welcome once again to the Lighthouse. I am your host, Rachel. Today I want to talk about pleasure and pain. Every single human being has this, pleasure and pain. These two forces control the human. How does this do this? Well, if you study the humans, even the scientists, even the pharmacists, when they make drugs, when they make foods and alcohol and create all these illusions to keep you here on earth, to keep you entertained, even your TV channels, they keep you entertained. How do you think they come about this? Well, there are brains that have looked and studied the human, that they are only controlled by two things, pleasure or pain. Pleasure or pain. So let me explain this and break it down just a little bit. So the human being loves pleasure. Every single human wants something pleasurable. Okay, so when we came into the world, we came with something called the ego. I don't know if you know anything about the ego. I just might throw up a video about the ego. The ego, I might talk about it in a longer program, because there's a lot to talk about ego, because it's a whole personality that we have to give honor to, the ego. So the human can never exist without his friend, the ego. And this ego is what you can call it any name. It's your companion. It is your nightmare. It is the devil. It is the bad side of you. It is your backside. It is your signature. It is your identity. The ego comes with you as you get born as a child. The ego is sent with you. So the quality of this ego, the ego loves pleasure. Anything to satisfy it, the ego wants to enjoy life. The ego wants to have more. The ego wants to just do whatever it takes to get all it can get, more than his neighbor. It doesn't care if he has to go the full length, but it's going to do anything to get more than his neighbor. And it beefs up so much pride. It has to gather more. It wants more. And the ego doesn't want to suffer. The ego doesn't like pain. The ego will run as fast as possible. Anything that is going to make it suffer, the ego doesn't want to be there. The ego loves pleasure. Anything that will want to make it comfortable, happy. It protects itself, its self-identity. Yes, the ego wants this. And every single human being has it. So when you have a friend, ask yourself, if the friend is not gaining anything from you, is that friend going to stay? I'm waiting for an answer. No, because there's no pleasure. Is the husband or the wife going to stay if they're not getting any services anymore? No, because the human want pleasure. There's no unconditional love here. Look at it closely. Every single human wants anything that would give it happiness, pleasure, joy, yes, profit, more, yes, anything that is going to have pain. You're going to suffer. You're going to have to put in the work. You're going to have patience, endurance. Some people will say, show me the easy way out. I take the back door. I find another way. I have to get out of this. Because if they're not gaining anything, you see, this is why friendships and relationships and people fall apart. Because as soon as they're not getting anything, it's a business. The ego is just a business relationship. The human was built this way. They're not gaining anything. It's not a give and take. Something's gonna end. Or it's something that is bringing pain. The human runs the other way. They run the other way. So even pharmaceutical products were made in such a way that the human is going to get pleasure out of certain pills. It might be a placebo, it doesn't matter, but the psychology, the consciousness of the human says this is going to be pleasurable, or I'm going to get a lot of gain from this thing, so I'm going to stay. They're ready to stay as long as they're going to get something. If they're not going to get anything, the human will not stay. Look at it closely. Study every situation. Test every situation. It cannot be wrong. It will prove time and time again the human will not stay for free. The human will not stay if they're not gaining anything from it. This is why you have some people that love to complain or love a certain situation. No matter how bad the situation is, you ask that woman, why are you still staying there when he's punching on you like this? She's gaining something out of it. He's gaining something out of it. There must be a gain. If you look at it closely, they are gaining something anyway. They love the feeling they get when people say, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, really? They become a topic. They become, they take the center focus. They take the center place, where you always have to talk about them. You have to care for them. You have to feel sorry for them. You have to, some people love that energy that you place them on a pedestal. So if somebody comes to you and is complaining about things in their lives or stuff like this, look at it closely before you start jumping in immediately. Why are they still there? Why are they still doing what they're doing? The human being will always go towards pleasure and run away from pain. The human don't like pain. The human want it easy. The human want to go to a place where they can get more stuff. The human wants more. Pain is not interesting for the human being. No matter what, even try with a little child that don't know anything. These things were inbuilt in our machine. Remember I said that we did not come with a manual of how this machine works? There's so much to this machine that if you understand it, you will know. So pleasure, pain, the human will not stay. And why was it placed this way? Because if we didn't have pain, look at it, if the human didn't have pain, the human would go, some will cut off their noses. You see some people, they put earrings on their eyes, on their nose, and they put it on their tongue, they put everywhere. If the human didn't have pain, They would be, maybe their ears would be hanging as a necklace. They would chop off their nose, or they chop off something to make it fashion. They would do anything for people to put them in the center place. And they say, I was the first that chopped up my nose, and look at it, ha 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 ha. So God put these things in place. Pain will help them to run away from destroying themselves. And the ego doesn't want to die or have pain. So the human always runs towards pleasure. I need something pleasurable. If I'm not getting anything or having any pleasure from here, I'm not going to stay. Nothing is entertaining me over here, I'm not going to stay. So if there's a lot of hardship at work, you see their faces all change because it's not pleasurable. So pleasure, the human machine was built for pleasure. It was built to receive pleasure, not to give, but to receive pleasure. So for you to be able to give pleasure and to give unconditionally pleasure, you have become divine. You have become like God. Because the human was built to be this greedy little thing that it goes towards pleasure, to get pleasure, run away from pain and hard work, and they don't really want to have so much stress. But for you to balance this out and be able to now understand both, that we're built this way, and you look at it and you say, I want to be like God. Now you don't only want to receive pleasure, you want to give pleasure, because this is not our human trait to give, to love, to accept, to accommodate, to have mercy. It's just not in the human DNA. It's in our spirit DNA, but not in our human DNA. So for you to evolve your consciousness and be like God, be like Christ, you want to give, not just receive. You want to give. So where are you? Where are you? Receiving, running away from pain, running towards pleasure, or you are now in the middle, in a balance point where you give and love others just the way you love yourself. Think about it. Chew on it a little bit. Thank you. Remember, I love you. I love you. I love you. Peace. Peace.